right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like right now, sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com. Just did a bunch of new merch drops, all that good stuff at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a free Discord server. It is absolutely free to join. We are in there 24/7 hanging out, having a good time, come and meet some awesome people. I see a big conversation going on there right now. And again, it is free to join. However, if you join as a member of this channel, you can just scroll right below the video here and hit that join button. We have a bunch of different levels, but it just starts at $2.99 a month. And that gets you not only members only live streams here on YouTube, but it gives you full access to the Discord server, which not only includes the free chat that everybody gets, but there's other channels there as well. And it's the after party channel. So after every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, we go in for an after party where we don't have to worry about YouTube censors or anything. And you guys are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a great time. You should come and join us. Shout out to King Nirvana said morning for this channel. It basically is. It basically is a morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We also got Delta Zero in the building. We got our boy Guam Tech. And shout out to Sizemore. Zippy is here as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So yes, I think it was Monday, right? Monday, we had a little debate, a little Christian versus atheist debate. And it's always good to, go back, watch the game tape and, make sure that what you presented yourself the way that you wanted to present yourself. Hey, there he is. Shout out to Taylor Wooden, was my debate partner in this. So it will be interesting as he is here to see this. So, I did go in, I'm not pulling any punches just because you're here, Taylor. So I hope you're ready for it. But, I obviously did go in a little frustrated because I hadn't heard from Taylor all day. And then I had to start the stream. Didn't have anything to do. I had something that was, kind of on the back burner. And, I just pulled that up. But that ended up getting copyright claimed. So I had to clip out the rest of the debate and all that. I knew all that stuff was going to be it. So I went in kind of in a bad mood. But I knew that, yes, Guantech was also there. So yes, I knew that I had to go in and make sure that not only am I not letting my frustration address how I how I perform, but just in general, even if I'm not in a bad mood, that I don't want to come off that way. So hey man, hit me up in Discord. Let's set it up. So of course, we were watching The Unbelievers before Taylor came through, and then let's just take it from there. And so again, if you do want to watch the debate itself, the link is in the description. Hey, we also got our boy Nick Luchetti in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Good to see you. Good to see you. Zippy said, I cannot take religion seriously when it deals in absolutes. Makes more sense as a philosophy or a quasi-life guide. I believe that as well. All right, let's do this. Okay, so we have Taylor. We're about an hour in. I think you guys want to say, all right, let's just do this. Let's do it. Where are we? Taylor, can you hear us? I think we had some sound issues, right? You are muted. Oh. And let's get what we let's start. So what we were supposed to be doing here was a cordial debate on is Christianity what's best for America. So I think the best place to start would probably to be what do you personally believe? Because as we were just kind of talking about, there, we can use words like God and Jesus and religion and stuff, but don't necessarily always mean the same thing. So I would just start. What is it that you believe that makes you call yourself a Christian? So just starting there, the reason that I wanted to start at what is it that you believe is because, even though we use the words God and Christianity and Jesus and all this stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean you understand what people mean by those words.
Well, I mean, I believe generally in the Bible, both through the wisdom of the Bible and the history of the Bible, and that Christ.
So you can see me starting to take notes already. So my first thing is, okay, instead of trying to jump on every little thing that is said, let me take notes and then address it as it comes.
Had died and was resurrected, right? The general idea of Christ and the morals of the Bible itself give me a lot of, like, they changed my life, They made.
Is this easier if I keep it like this? Is this easier? This feels like it's easier to tell what's going on. But yeah, I mean, Christian is bad at being a word too. Jesus works, but God is very bad at being a word. A word is supposed to take the ideas that are in my head and put them in your head. So if I say God, and all that happens is that you think about your own, your own interpretation of God, well, then the word hasn't done anything. And so, good job for your first debate, sir. So yeah, I guess I'll just keep it like this.
I really.
So there. So normally at this point, I'd be like, see, you don't even know what you believe. But I'm like, all right, let's put the brakes on, and let's hear it out. Did we lose him? Hello?
Sorry, I think I just had a petit mal.
Oh, good. You're saying so the morals and it changed your life?
Oh yeah. Well, for most of my life, I generally was like a lukewarm Easter Christian. So I really wasn't that much of a believer for a while. But in my life, wasn't all that great. But then when I became more of an adult, I started going to church every week. I started reading the Bible and praying at least 3 times a day, and my life changed completely.
So already I'm on the track of your life changed completely because you started going to church. So what were you doing before?
And
okay, I thought you said your wife. Would you? So while we're on the topic, Richard Hardy is asking if you are married.
No, I'm not married.
All right. So the shout out to Gaboo. Welcome to the party. So Taylor, let's start with just the resurrection, itself. So I want this again is something that maybe called out by the chat that this probably wasn't the best place to start, because I'm trying to I'm coming from the position of I don't think this is true. Therefore, again, the question is what is Christianity what's best for America? And so my position was if we don't know that it's true, we can't say that it's the best. And so that's why I started with the resurrection. It just so happened to be one of the first things that that he listed. So I was just going down the list. But as you'll see, people are like, why does that matter? And I mean, I wish people were a little bit more patient to see. But, maybe they're right. And maybe if we had gone down that road, then we would have had a very different conversation. So Taylor is just one of our Discord members. He's a friend and was willing to have this discussion. But yeah, so the resurrection itself, what tells you that the resurrection is something that actually happened?
Well, I generally believe it factually because I was raised to believe it, but also I have looked into it and I've noticed that they have
where's
found
my vape?
Generally.
Oh no!
Like I think they found his shoes and what was it? His robe.
At least I can keep this playing. This is my own content.
Neatly placed in his tomb.
According to
According to historians, like people that have, like, it's been written supposedly.
So just I ask, meaning that you're not getting this directly from the Bible. This is other outside of the Bible.
Yeah, this is outside
So-
sources.
So just taking one thing at a time. Well, before this, Carl asked, the discussions about whether Christianity is best for America, then how is the resurrection relevant? Wouldn't even gauge on that territory. It's not part of the debate. Well, if you listen, you'll see that the truth matters. So, what about the shoes and robe being placed neatly tells us that that was something to do with the resurrection?
Well, Christ always would.
All right, so let me just see. I'm just going to skip through what I just said about our discussions about whether Christianity is best for America. Then how is the resurrection relevant? Okay, so yeah, wouldn't even gauge on that territory. It's about the shoes and robe being placed neatly. Tells us that that was something to do with the resurrection.
Well, Christ always would, like when he woke from, sleeping, he would always place his, like, sleeping robes and shoes neatly on the bed. And he did the same when he left the tomb.
So before we get there, shout out to Zippy DSML. So Morty got into some shroom chocolate. If you're in Discord, look at the state of my my room when I got home about half an hour ago. I don't know if he's gonna eat it. Let's see. Morty, you want this? I guess so. All right, there we go. Thank you very, very much, sir.
And it's just that they found Christ's, like, items, but they couldn't find Christ, anything other than Christ. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I mean, I guess everybody wants to just jump in directly about the morality, and since because we can definitely get into that, and I thought that was so. Yeah, again, I think that if we had taken down that road, then we could have had depending on what Taylor knows about this, what Taylor thinks and feels about this, I think we could have gotten to a much more cross or just a discussion about whether or not this is true, which is the important part to me, because I don't think that anybody disagrees that the values work. But everybody, hell yeah, yep. Shout out to Jersey. But yeah, so that was the other thing, is like, okay, I'm gonna go with the chat. It seemed like everybody wanted to go that way, so was a good basis. But let's just go directly to the morals. So you said the morals changed your life. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Again, this is from me taking notes, so I'm not just I'm not just keeping this all in my head. I've got a notepad open and making sure that I'm getting what he's saying properly.
Yeah. Well, after I decided to become more of a devout Christian, I decided to go full in on Christian morals. I bettered myself, tried to gain the wisdom of the Bible. Like, I followed, like, I stopped cursing. Generally, like, I mean, I'll still curse from now and then because I'm human, but I used to curse all of the time. But
so you said, would it help if they send you 5 or so talking points and reply with questions to help them focus their talking point? I don't know, because I don't necessarily think that far ahead, so I don't know what the conversation is going to be before I have it. So I mean, theoretically, maybe. But yeah, like that. Taylor, just it's just, if you're nervous, if you're new to this, then it's not easy. It's a lot easier. It's a lot harder than it looks, right? It's a lot harder than it looks.
But not anymore, and that made me feel better generally. But not like the other morals, like I treat people better, and it helped me gain self-confidence through that too, and through the morals. I've also gained security.
So again, all this time, I'm looking for what I know that the question that's coming is, why can't you do any of that without God? I already know that at this point. So I'm looking to see if there is anything that's going to be an answer to that question, so that I don't answer, so that I don't ask a dumb question. Because if he says something about, if he brought up something about being healed or something, and then that wouldn't necessarily be something that I could say, well, why can't we do that without God? Because if you believe that God actually did a miracle, then that wouldn't work. So that's what I'm looking for. And none of these things are attainable only through God.
Through God.
Cool. So before that, you said you went at one point you went all in. So before you went all in, what was the moral structure that you like? What instead of the Christian values, which values were you using? And again, I specifically asked which moral structure, knowing that there wasn't one. Knowing that there was, like, oh, you're telling me that you didn't really have, you were just kind of going by, what you think is good and bad. And so now I'm phrasing it to say, because I could have asked, how did you know what was right and wrong before that? But that doesn't necessarily highlight that, oh, you didn't have a moral structure. And so I specifically asked, what was the structure that you were using? What was the moral structure that you like? What instead of the Christian values, which values were you using?
Generally, I didn't really have many values at all. I kind of like just didn't care about anything. I mean, I didn't really want to hurt people, but I didn't really care if that much of people got hurt. Like I still cared about people, but
yeah,
it didn't
like basic stuff. You don't want to be a bad person. And so, on to kind of, I was getting to where Guantek is saying, is there anything in the Bible that says you can't learn from other religions' interpretations? It says to worship one God, but I don't think it says not to seek wisdom. And so I'll just broaden that. It's a great point, sir. And it makes sense to me that if you go from not worrying about your moral structure and just going based on what you think is good and bad from experience, and then you have you get into a structure that you're going to like that structure better. The question here again, though, is Christianity what's best for America? So again, before we go on, then I'm reframing the argument that I just made indirectly. So I purposely let him list all the things that Christianity did for him. Then I said, okay, so which moral structure were you using that you weren't getting them from before, knowing that he was going to say he didn't have a particular moral structure or a set of values that he sat down and figured out, so that I can establish that and put a stamp on it and again make sure everybody hears my point. Okay, so you went from 0 to Christianity. So when I move on, then it's easier for people to remember that experience. And then you have you get into a structure that, you're going to like that structure better. The question here, again, though, is Christianity what's best for America? So I agree that the values that we see in Christianity are definitely better than no values. That's the problem with so many of the atheists that I see, whether they were brought up with religion or not. They simply don't take the time to figure out what their moral structure is. And so while absolutely Christianity can be a way to find a moral structure, how do you know that there's not a better one? Whether Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism or something we haven't discovered yet. King here said, and people can say that Jesus put the values into them even before having faith, but just weren't aware. Yeah, and that definitely could have been a response. That Taylor could have said, well, I didn't know that I was following Christ, or I didn't know that I was following God, but once I found him, once he was revealed to me, then it was very clear that he was walking with me the whole time or something. And so then I would go down the road of like, okay, how do you know he was walking with you if you were looking for him and you didn't know that he was there? Like, how would explain that to me? And again, that would be a very difficult thing to explain, which doesn't mean that it's not possible, it's not true, but it gives, again, a reason for somebody who's being skeptical to remain skeptical, and then the person who believes it to try to figure out, to articulate what exactly is going on.
I've actually looked into a lot of religions and their morals, and generally I think religion is a good thing, except for Islam. I find Islam a very self-destructive religion.
Agreed.
But I know a lot of religions and a lot of dogmas have been inspired,
except David, right? Except David,
by Jesus Christ himself. There's a lot of similarities. And I know the ancient Chinese, I mean, I don't know it for a fact, but I know I've heard a lot of modern Chinese talk about how the ancient Chinese in BC, before Christ, actually talked about Jesus Christ. They already knew about Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and Zippy, this is a good way of putting it, that we're in a sea of Abrahamic morality. I like that. I like that phrasing. I keep doing that. It's a muscle memory.
supposedly before he was born, which amazes me. Like they found like these thousands of years old like writings, Chinese writings about Jesus Christ, saying good things about him. Like,
So again, as I'm listening, I'm looking for how does anything about China and what China said about Jesus have any bearing on what's good for America? Because in trying to keep all of this stuff straight, you need to be able to determine, okay, do I need to remember that, or can I just dismiss that? And when I say dismiss that, I don't mean that I'm not listening, but I mean that am I? How does that factor into my argument? My argument is that Christianity is not what's best for, or we can't say that Christianity is what's best for America. And so I'm focused on just anything that's going to change that. I definitely agree that Jesus was a great figure. I think he was a great philosopher, and there's much that we could learn from the Bible specifically, from Christianity specifically, and definitely from Jesus Christ specifically. And like people will bring this up. I don't care enough whether or not Jesus Christ was a real person to die on that hill or to argue about it. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. So like there was some people in the chat saying, well, there's not proof that that Jesus was actually a real person. But like even if he wasn't, then that doesn't really change my argument as much. Because then I would need to refute all of the legitimate evidence that says that he probably did exist. And so that, again, understanding what doesn't matter, that doesn't really matter for the conversation. Again, it doesn't matter for the context of the conversation. We said Islam is Christianity pre-Catholic Reformation. Remember, human nature. Christianity infought and warred with itself so much to get where it is. Islam cannot mature, thus remains wrathful. Correct, sir. Correct, sir. The question was, how do they need that? Unto Caesar verse from the Bible specifically, from Christianity specifically, and definitely from Jesus Christ specifically. The question was, how do you know that Christianity is the best? That there's not only it's the best of all the religions that we know, but as Carl was saying, the Hermetics, the belief that there is a splinter of truth in all religions, and God needs to see us as divine to recognize His own divinity. So again, I don't believe in this idea that there's a splinter of truth in all religions. I think that they're all wrong, probably. But for the purposes of the point that I'm making, this goes along with it. So I don't not believe that there could be true parts of each religion. And so if it was just a regular stream where, I was talking about, I don't know, the veracity of claims in religion in general, then I might go and dig a little bit more into this and say, just because it's a religion doesn't mean there's truth to it. But that, again, that's not relevant to the point that we're talking about. So we said, argue Jesus, a divine savior figure, is not unique to human lore and myth. Eastern systems have lots of gods and demigods and self-made gods. Yep. Yeah. So how do we exactly? And to say that this one way of thinking is the best is just too much. It's too strong of a reach. Just taking the first part of that again. How do we? What makes you know for sure that Christianity isn't just good, but it's the best? Again, refocusing that I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying we don't know that it's the best.
Well, I generally think the morals in Christianity serve society the best.
So now when we talk about the morals, then that brings me back to, okay, if you have only had, just general morals that were not part of a structure and the Christian structure, then how do you, Taylor, know that there isn't another structure that's better than that?
Because generally, if you look at what the sins are and what we're not supposed to do, it's kind of what we already believe in society. Like murder is wrong,
right.
Lying, cheating, adultery.
Yeah, and you can see here James was saying, that it's unfounded claims. Jesus as a man has not been proven to exist. Agreed, but that doesn't really help me to stick on that. And there's a lot there's a lot more evidence that people can cite, whether it's true or not. There's a lot more out there that people can say, well, this person says it, and if you look at these historical documents and they suggest this, that I don't want to get down that road. So it just whatever. Again, Rise, really quick, if you could hit that like button, it is free, it is easy, and it helps out so very, very much. Thank you.
Idolatry, like
agree.
worshiping idols, etc.
So why? I agree with all of those values, but I don't believe in Christianity or any religion. And I think that going back to right. So Taylor's saying religion is purely based on faith, not fact. And so if we had gotten down that road, which like let's say we'd stuck with the resurrection stuff early, and then we got onto, well, I don't know, I don't have facts. It's based on faith, and then I could just say, okay, well, how do I know what you believe in is even true if you don't know that it's true? And then we, continue going down that way. Nick said, historical figures or not, he was a very important and influential person or idea, whatever the case may be. I like the idea of people who teach love and compassion for others. Yeah, and that's what, again, exactly. Whether or not this is a real person or not, either way, we're talking about a person who's in a book. Real person, fake person, doesn't really matter to me. The idea of being truths in other religions and philosophies, for you to say that Christianity is what's best for America, then you have to have some experiential or some reason to say, well, no, it's not it's not Islam, it's not Hinduism, not Buddhism, but we can't even fathom anything that could be better. Christianity is the best we've got, and that's where it stops. That's the task. And so, that should be like, at that point, it should be like, oh, okay, I can't do that. I don't know. I only have I only have the experience of not being Christian and then being a Christian. So I can't say that. Game over. Yeah, the Jesus are, there you go. The archetype. That's all we need. Because going back to what Richard was saying, I think the question is, if Christianity isn't what's best, then what's your alternative and how does it work? And I don't know. I would love to be able to answer that question, but every time I try to have that conversation, it goes back to Christianity. And so again, I know that I don't have that answer, but I know that I don't have that answer because I've looked for that answer and I've found an impasse. I found the impasse of like, I don't know. And whenever I try to have that conversation, it comes back to, well, it must be Christianity. So I can't get there. But you have to, again, be aware that these kind of questions, if I'm asking if Christianity is what's best and somebody else is saying yes, and I'm saying no, then you have to expect that somebody's going to say, okay, well, what is best? And typically, you're going to want to have an answer there. But in this particular case, because of Christianity, in my opinion, we can't get an answer. So while Christianity is the best we have now, doesn't mean it's the best. I would love to be able to answer that question, but every time I try to have that conversation, it goes back to Christianity. And so if Christianity is what's best for America, then we don't need an alternative. But if it's not what's best for Christianity, then it's not up to one person to just say, this is it. We, as a society, need to gather information and try different things and say this and that and work on those things to determine what actually is the best.
Well, honestly, I think in society we should try not to focus more on worldly things and focus more on spiritual things because of what it can do for our soul and who we are. It can.
So again, I hear a pivot there that we're not talking about the structure for America. Just is going back to, is Christianity good or not?
And who we are. It can really better us as people. And I think like having Christianity in society, especially American society, I think like if it's practiced more and pushed more, not forced to be Christian or anything, like the morals itself, if it's pushed more, I think things like people will get better. But right now we're moving more towards the opposite of less morals and more degenerate behavior.
I absolutely agree with that. And that is why I think it's so detrimental for us to say that Christianity is what's best. Because, right, I'm coming from the perspective that things are bad and we wanted things to be best. or if we want things to be better, and you're saying your thing is the best and it's the most popular, and it's not good right now, then how does that make sense? With that. And that is why I think it's so detrimental for us to say that Christianity is what's best, because we have such a big cohort of people who, just like you were saying before you'd gone all in, you had your general human rationality told you, hitting people is wrong, murder is wrong, that kind of stuff. There's people like that who, again, maybe they never had that like yourself, and it can be brought into this moral structure, and then they adopt that structure and they become a better person. Not saying that cannot happen. I'm saying that happens all the time, but there's another cohort of people that I belong to that grew up in the church and believed all this stuff legitimately and genuinely, and now can't go back. So, nope. And I mean, feel free to disagree, but I think I have a pretty good moral compass and a moral structure. I try to be a good person and stuff like that. But if I don't believe in the thing, meaning whether we're talking about God or resurrection or any of the divine, let's say, aspects of Christianity, then it begs the question: if we don't know it's true, how can we say it's the best? Raises the question. Begs the question is when you're answering a question with the question. It raises the question. It begs the question: if we don't know it's true, how can we say it's the best? And again, that's where I was coming from with the resurrection stuff.
Well,
but you guys didn't like that.
I mean, you're never really going to know it's true or as a fact, because really you have to have faith.
So again, that's another claim. You're never going to know. That's a claim. You're saying that you know that I'm never going to know. Okay. Back up that claim.
True or as a fact, because really you have to have faith. But that faith, if you truly have faith and you truly believe, it affects you and your soul. And it will
and again, just more things about saying why Christianity is good and why Taylor personally believes. All perfectly fine things, but not addressing whether or not it is best for America.
For example, I constantly feel, the Holy Spirit around me. Like,
again, if we're in a different conversation, he said, I constantly feel the Holy Spirit around me. I might have dived in like, okay, well, how do you know that? How do you know that what you're feeling is the Holy Spirit? I'm not saying you're not feeling anything. But how do you know that you're not suffering from some delusional thing? And it just so happens to manifest in a way that makes you feel like you're talking to the Holy Spirit. Would it be impossible for that for you? Would it be impossible for somebody? So since I'm not you, how do I tell the difference between the person who's hallucinating the Holy Spirit and the person who's actually constantly feeling the Holy Spirit for real?
Like, for example, my friend who wasn't very Christian, he was about to go to prison, but
so he was not living a very pious and moral life. Bringing it back to the, so when I hear that, and it's like, oh, you're going to prison, so it means similarly you're going from a at least loose structure, if not lack thereof, and then you find a moral structure and you get happier, which still goes to my point that the strongest moral structure that we can have, and the more people that have it, the better society is going to be. And if too many people can't get onto the Christian structure, then we need an alternative.
But
so he was not living a very pious and moral life before.
No,
we're seeing a pattern here. So we're seeing a pattern of people who are living without a moral structure and then find Christianity and their life gets better. Bingo. Nobody is disagreeing that absolutely happens all the time. But specifically, the word is best. And so, as Kyle was saying, I would argue Christianity is better because you can be a Muslim or an atheist in a Christian society and thrive. The same is not true in an atheistic or Muslim society that I have seen. And again, I mean, taking out the atheistic part, because we've not seen any atheistic societies that were not dictatorships as well, not because they were atheistic. But yeah, if Christianity is better than Islam or whatever else, I could agree with that. But does that make it the best? No, it doesn't. So we said, I almost want to say that academic theology is subtractive. It ignores history and the world at large. The study of history or science is a more additive process. Much of a muchness, I guess. I think I don't know. I think because there is a lot of content, for lack of a better word. There is a lot of religious content. And I do think that theologians are able to make it a more cohesive story, for better or worse. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, I can't think of anything better. I mean,
Me neither. Which is maybe we should try it. The argument from personal incredulity. So I can't think of anything better than God, therefore it must be God. And of course, when you say that like that, you realize how silly of an argument that is. But so many people use it that we have a name for it. Taylor said, I think history and theology is history is definitely a big part of history. So you're saying theology, belief, because theology is the study of belief. I don't know if the study of belief is necessarily as big a part of history as what people believed and the fact that people believed. But definitely believing, so religion and theology are a big part of history. Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. Right?
yeah.
Because my position is not I have what is best for America. Question is Christianity what's best for America? I don't think it is what's best for America. I think we can do better than Christianity. But you're saying, no, we can't do better than Christianity. And I'm just asking on what basis are you making that claim? King says, probably a silly question. Do other Abrahamic religions outwardly say you must have faith as a core tenet as well? Yeah. So, well, I don't know exactly what the faith tenet of Judaism would be in this context. Like, I don't know if there's a figure like that, but definitely you have to, as a Muslim, you have to accept Muhammad as the prophet and Allah as God. So I don't know about Judaism. There's definitely aspects of faith, but it's not necessarily the same. It's kind of things, the kind of faith where it's like we don't necessarily know what happened, so we have faith that you know what I mean. So good question. It's not a silly question. It's a good question. Sizemore says religion was our first attempt at science. Yep. It was it absolutely. I mean, it was. I think it's the same exact the same exact through line of trying to understand the universe. That's all we're doing. Whether it's thinking that the sun the sun goes up and down because there's a God that's doing it, all the way to modern religions. It's just trying to explain what's going on. Nick said, I love looking at the Bible as a source for historical events and seeing what we can learn from it. Yeah, why not, right? Shout out to Ayush Gupta. Welcome to the party. I mean, that's kind of like a side quest. Well, maybe do that one later. If one of you guys wants to GPT it, be my guest. But so Taylor said, Messianic Judaism and general Judaism that I'm aware of are like Christianity and Islam with faith. So if faith in what, though? Is it just God? Faith in God? Like the existence of a... Because I don't even... If I remember, I don't even think that you necessarily have to be a theist to be Jewish. I think you can be a deist. And I think you can be a deist and be Jewish. I think so. All right, let's dive back in here. Shout out to Dietrich. Welcome.
Wow. Every atheistic society I think of like the Soviet Union, for example, and the CCP.
And so again, this is an argument that I hear all the time. Like every atheistic society has been murderous and socialist, and then and again, they're like, okay, well, that's all the more reason why we need to make sure that doesn't happen again, because atheism ain't stopping. Oh, I did it again.
Yeah. Technically,
bad societies, but were they bad because of the fact that they didn't believe in a God, or were they bad because of the morals and values that they have?
Yeah, I really don't think they had very good morals, but generally,
Great.
The Soviet Union gave people horrible morals through their beliefs. I mean,
right. Shout out to M169. Welcome. Said Messianic Jews accept Jesus as the Son of God. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not gonna dive into that now, but welcome to the party. Morty is not doing well. He is shaking. Yeah, he got into my shroom chocolate before, so we'll see. Join the Discord to see what happened in my bedroom. You know, you could. It's in the free chat, so you could just see it for free. But yikes! But not the beliefs that they affirmatively have, not the lack of a belief in God. The belief that it's okay to do horrible things to people. That has nothing to do with atheism, any more than it has to do with like I've been saying, brushing your teeth or wearing shoes. Hitler wore shoes every day. But that's we don't attribute his the things that he's done to him wearing shoes or him brushing his teeth, because those have nothing to do with it. Similarly, whether or not he believes in a God is not why he was a horrible person. He was a horrible person because of the other values or lack thereof that he held.
Right.
So again, we get back to your claim is Christianity is the best thing for America, and I'm still just at the place of, okay, if that is true, tell me how.
Well,
I'm refocusing I'm noticing like Taylor's not really sure how to respond, so I just bring it back to the center and repose the question.
I believe Christianity I truly believe Christianity helps people.
Again, going back to Christianity is good. Still have not said that that's not the case.
In general, especially when they're down. Yeah, I don't think atheism, or I don't think Islam, or really a lot of religions do that like Christianity can do that. Like, Christianity is for everybody, because
Not me.
all
Not me.
humans are made in the image of God, right? And we are all his children, and he all loves us.
I don't know. Is that a claim you're making? How do you know that?
Yeah. Because the Lord said so,
How do you know he spoke to you? And so this is kind of where we would have gone if we had stuck on the resurrection thing. How do you know that these things are true? How do you know that the Bible is a source that you should be holding above every other book in existence?
Maybe in a way, not personally, but through my soul. He definitely did speak to me.
And this is a related question, but it's if I could get a yes or no to just make the point. Have you ever done any? So that is something that I learned to when it's a setup question where I have a question, but depending on whether you go this way or this way, I need to figure that out first. Then to just say that, because sometimes I'll try to ask the question, and then the person will answer the question, and then I'll try to ask the main question. Well, and they'll go off and still be talking about the original question. So I need to make it clear that, look, this isn't a whole discussion right here. I'm just to make my point. I need to know whether whether you believe this or whether you believe that. A shout out to Zippy one more time. I don't think he is going to take anything. Let's see. Oh, I was wrong. There we go. What does Zippy say? Communism and socialism is the religion of government, and the state is their god. Hell yeah. Shout out to our sponsor of the stream. Psychedelics like shrooms or acid or DMT or something like that.
To me.
And this is a related question, but it's if I could get a yes or no to just make a point. Have you ever done any psychedelics like shrooms or acid or DMT or something like that? Yeah. So if I hadn't said this is just I'm just looking for a yes or no, then he could have reasonably taken that down and be like, well, I've never done that, but what I do think is that and go on a point about that. When it's like, again, that's not really relevant to what we're talking about. I just needed to know whether or not you had that experience before or not.
I've done a little bit of shrooms.
So is Morty. So you experienced sense whether it's sights or sounds or something that wasn't there. Whether you had the trails or you had whatever. How would one tell the difference between somebody who is simply mistaken that God spoke to them, and it was just some other process of the brain? So this is good. Well, we'll jump back into that. But Sizemore is a good question. It said, can someone without religion, without using religion, define the soul? I mean, I wouldn't. Just as an exercise here, I will try. But I think so. But that's what he gets for going in. I closed the drawer. I put a Gatorade bottle there over the stuff just in case he got the drawer open. He knocked it out of the way, ate everything up, and then got so high that he was tearing everything up in my room. but he's had shrimp chocolate before. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. But yeah, so I would say that I don't want to use the word soul. I don't think that's I think that goes in with Christian and God as not being very good at being a word, because again, what exactly do you mean? But I think that there is definitely a unique essence of an individual. And again, the more that we accept, okay, it's not a soul, or we are going to, figure out the empirical way to describe what it is that we're talking about. If we don't have that, and we keep using words like soul, Christ, Christian, God, then we're just going further and further and further down the rabbit hole of thinking everybody's saying the same thing, but everybody's saying a different thing. We have a million people saying one word and acting like everybody's going on one idea, when really we have a million people saying one word going on a million different ideas. That cannot be the best. That's our Morty. That's my Morty. So Taylor said, I'm actually very aware of people mistaking that God spoke to them, because my brother has schizophrenia and he constantly refuses to take his meds. So I know exactly what those people are like. I believe that we are not humans with a soul, but a soul with a temporary changed body. So yeah, going to so this is kind of exactly where the conversation is going, is that if I'm looking at you and your brother, and both of you are saying God spoke to me, I can feel the Holy Spirit, how am I to know which one of you is schizophrenic and which is not? Right? Because even, I don't know what you look like. So literally we could do this. Having had a conversation, I could be there with you and your brother if he was not on his meds, and he could be going through a schizophrenic episode, and he could feel like God was talking to him, and both of you could tell me, God told me this. How then would I, as a third party observer, determine which one of you is rational and which one of you is not? So you experienced sense, whether it's sights or sounds or something that wasn't there, whether you had the trails or you had a
Right.
whatever. How would one tell the difference between somebody who is simply mistaken that God spoke to them, and it was just some other process of the brain, and they think that it's God speaking to them? How do we tell the difference between that person and you, who God actually spoke to? How would, from an outside perspective, how would one of us, how would we determine that? So yeah, the exact question. And an Oxford Dictionary definition, not super helpful in a philosophical discussion. I think we know what we're referring to when we say soul, but what exactly do we mean? And so again, like the spiritual part. What does spiritual mean? And then believe by who? What does exist mean? What does death mean? That's where you get into the weeds of like, what exactly are we talking about? And so we have all of these words, but what do they mean? Where are you going? You're going to go, I know you're going to jump down. No, you're going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to come back up in 2 seconds. Just lay down. Bubba, lay down. It's okay. You're okay. Lay down. There you go. He is freaking out. He is freaking out, man. I'm freaking out, man. He keeps doing this thing where he's like licking. He's like, you want to go over here? Why don't you go over here? There you go. Why don't you lay down? Take a load off. Under the desk. Under the desk. When you know he won't even sit on my lap, and he has to go under the desk, that it's not going well. But, that's what we do when we deal with the shrooms. Are you trying to come back up already? Yeah. Okay. All right. Sizemore said, I share your idea of the soul. I think the soul is an expression of our individuality. What music we listen to, what food we prefer, what makes us happy, angry, turned on, depressed. That's my soul. Agreed. We said it's rooted in skepticism, something you are not allowed in communism or socialism. King said in Severance, it's kind of like there's two souls in one body, or whatever you call it. I know that's science fiction, but a way to ponder, right? And so that's where exactly what Sizemore is saying is that something like Black Mirror or Severance, where they are done so well that it asks the question, would it be possible for you to split your consciousness like that? Would it be possible for you to be, you to be one body, one soul, and then in that same body, you create two different souls, and they're not aware of each other? That's a great question. I don't know, but it's really explored in an interesting way in Severance. Come back up. No, he's freaking out. So I said a lot of cyberpunk is coming true the way it's told in lore. That's both exciting and horrifying. Yeah, we don't want too much true science fiction. Actually, spoke to how would, from an outside perspective, how would how would we determine that?
Well, when you talk to God, you know that you're really talking to God, because you're not
So again, now I'm already hearing a claim being made. When you talk to God, XYZ. So that's the claim that I'm looking for. So, okay, what when you talk to God? That's how I'm looking. Shout out to Equality and Deference because vagina over on Rumble. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the big problem with the God talk to me shit is why the fuck doesn't God just talk to all of us? Not enough power? Hasn't figured out how Twitter works? I completely agree. I think they're clearly God knows a way for all of us to follow what he wants. God knows a way to create a way that we would be aware of him, and we still have the choice to follow him or not follow him. He knows how to do that. He's just decided not to. DID or split personality, usually brought on by a severe childhood where, there's been plenty of movies about this where, you have the split personalities. Split is, obviously a good one. And it just raises the question: are the identities really separated, or is this some type of psychosomatic you're convincing yourself that you don't know the other personalities when and all of that stuff. So all of that stuff is why we want to have these types of conversations. All right, let's dive back in here.
Really talking to God, because
so I'm looking for the claim perspective. How would one of us, how would we determine that?
Well, when you talk to God, you know that you're really talking to God, because you're not like you're saying, you're not drunk, you're not high, you're just like you are now. And it's like, and it's not, but it's not like speaking to another person. It's like, it's literally speaking to something divine, and you truly know.
That's begging the question. It's like speaking to something divine. Well, that begs the question: what is speaking to? That's what I'm asking you. What is it that it's like speaking to God? And so if you're saying speaking to God is like speaking to God, well, I mean, I'm aware of that. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you for the process. Brain scans have so they're distinct personalities, but the question then is what agency does the person have to overcome that? Because no matter how hard I try, I cannot be in your mind. But there may or may not be ways for those personalities to be unique personalities, but still they obviously share the same space, physical space. And so it is theoretically possible that person could become aware of that, but and not possible for me to be aware of your thoughts. Sidemore said, what do you think of the cognitive dissonance between the two personalities? What do you mean? Not sure what you mean.
You're speaking with something divine, and since I know what it's like being on psychedelics.
Oh, bro! I thought this was this. I was like, yes, all right, he's being cool, he's chilling. That's not him. Oh my god, that's funny. All right,
and since I know what it's like being on psychedelics, the feeling on psychedelics is just something that is.
You said you only did a little bit, right? You said you only did a little bit, right? So what if you did a lot and you're like, oh snap, this feels exactly the same as when I thought God was speaking to me? Is that an impossible thing?
I mean, yeah, like.
So that's a strong claim. You know for sure that there's no amount of psychedelics that you could take that would make you feel that way. Okay, cool. Wow, I'm amazed that you have that information. So how do you know that it's impossible that you could have an experience from whatever psychedelics? Let's say DMT. DMT is up there. You've done a little bit of shrooms, and you have an experience with widening our sober minds when we talk, whether we talk about alcohol or weed. That might open you a little bit, but even a little bit of shrooms is going to blow your perspective wide open, even a little. But obviously, more is going to do more. And DMT or ayahuasca or peyote or something is going to do so more than shrooms. So let's say you take not even just a regular dose of DMT, but you take a mega dose of DMT. How do you know that it's impossible that you would feel the same thing as when supposedly God talked to you?
Well, with DMT, I know that one thing I know about DMT is when you're dying, your brain.
So here I hear the question not being answered. So the way that you would, what I'm looking for is an explanation there. So now when you're talking about what DMT is doing and what happens when you die, then I know you're not answering the question. So if I wanted to be a dick, I could be like, I didn't ask you what happened when your brain, I didn't ask you what happened with DMT. I said, how did you know that a DMT dose would not give you the same experience as what you think is talking to God?
Goes through a DMT trip.
Right.
It's like some sort of like shock, because I even saw my great grandmother go through that, and she was even like, she couldn't talk or anything or move, and all of a sudden as she was dying, she was like screaming and grabbing the bed and shaking it like crazy, saying about they won't let her in the gates, and then as she died, she said that the gates were opening. Right.
Yeah, and so here we have Sizemore saying, I have a friend who's schizophrenic, known him for years, and he used to get possessed by a demon that would speak through him. And so the hair in my mouth. Yeah, again, so that puts us at the same place where we are aware that it is possible for people to think that these things are happening and really, really believe that they're happening. But from an outside perspective, we can see that clearly it's not the case. So then we need to know, how do we determine when, if it is the case, it's real and it's not this? Quality and Deference said, what's the difference between talking to God and talking to yourself? You can actually hear yourself. Dilly to that. Good one. I think I've heard that before, but I didn't expect it. So Sizemore goes on to say, when the demon spoke, it still didn't know what he didn't know. It would still make vocabulary mistakes he made, and he was a horrible actor. The demon's voice was badly performed, so I was curious what you thought about that. Where even in a separate personality, the same person exists in both. Is there a way to bridge the connection, do you think? So I don't know for sure either way, but that's pretty much what that's exactly what I was asking. That, when we talk about DID or schizophrenia or something, it goes to the question, can that bridge be gapped? Because if you can see that physically it's the same person, then you know that either they really are being possessed or they're not. And if they're, acting in a way that makes it seem like, oh, you're that individual person, you're making the same grammatical mistakes and stuff like that, then it again raises the question, how do we tell the difference? Just because you're not, using a demon voice and writhing on the floor and your head's spinning around, just because you're not having that level of delusion doesn't mean that you're not deluded. You can absolutely be deluded and a functional person. It's just a different level. So again, that brings us back to, how do you know that with a high enough drug dose, you wouldn't experience that same exact thing? And if you could, then what does that tell us about your God? As exactly what Zibby is saying. Well, can't talk to God through shrooms. That's racist against shrooms. God was absolute. That's the only way. And so we can have that. I mean, I don't want to drug up any bad memories, but again, in that same context, how would we be able, without being in her mind, How would be able to tell the difference if she is, just having that release of DMT, which is what, scientifically explains all near-death experiences, versus an actual bona fide experience with communicating with God? How would we go about determining the difference?
That is very hard to explain because it's one of those things you kind of have to experience.
So this is where I didn't catch this when I'll bring this back up. I didn't catch this when we in the conversation. But I wish I had, and I'm curious just how I would have responded. So let's just back this up again. Let's see exactly.
That is very hard to explain because.
So right there, it's hard to explain because it's not hard to explain. You just don't know how to do it. Or it might not. Let's say it might not be hard to explain. You just don't know what the explanation is. So when you say it's hard to explain, that's kind of being a little bit dishonest in presenting that. Well, I know it. It's just that I don't know how to articulate it. But you don't know it. That's why you don't know how to explain it.
That is very hard to explain because it's one of those things you kind of have to experience to truly understand it. But
yeah, and say, well, you have to experience it. So then, how do you? Again, if you. What about that? It goes back to exactly the same thing. You're making claims that you can't verify, and then taking it a step further because of the question of what's best for America. You're saying that it's good, and we should base all our laws on it. Like that's quite a step for a thing that you can't even explain.
And it, but
so then it would make sense. At least if I can put this in a, move from the philosophical place, putting this in the political realm is, again, what's best for America. So if this experience that you're talking about is so ineffable that you have to experience it to believe in it, then doesn't it make sense that there's going to be a lot of people who have not experienced it and therefore cannot believe in it? And as far as politics, then we don't want to make that understanding of an experience you haven't had to be, quote unquote, part of our club. This guy's smart. That seems like counterintuitive. It seems like politically, even if you haven't had those experiences, as long as you're going by the same values, then we're all on the same. We're all in the same boat. Why use the gate to keep? Why use gatekeeping of religion at all?
Well, for example, I mean, there's more than just the morals in the religion. There's a lot that you gain from, and obviously people aren't going to experience it all. And I think truly you have to go through life and you will have an experience like that, but you just can't be closed-minded or stubborn, or God will never really come to you and you will refuse to accept it. You just have to be a little more open.
And again, you just have to be a little bit more open. And I think I did actually hook on this, but this is again like, oh, you're not doing it right. Like, how do you know that you can't explain how you know for sure that you got this thing, yet I'm not open-minded enough?
And maybe you will have an experience.
So do you, and I just want to, again, kind of shifting frames a little bit. When you say something like that, obviously I know that you have good intentions, that you're hoping that maybe I can experience the great thing that you've experienced. But if I'm somebody who, again, was born into the Catholic Church, went all the way through confirmation and way into college, it wasn't until I actually read the Bible that I was like, hey, there's things here that don't make sense. This is what it sounds like. You say, well, you're just being closed-minded. I reject that is a fair characterization, because I've been as open as I think any atheist can be. So I gotta pat myself on the back for not being like, what the fuck? Is that what you're fucking saying? You fucking this, fucking. We're growing and we're learning. We're growing and we're learning. Shout out to Dame Reyes. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, sir. Going over the debate between me and Taylor from Monday. You say, well, you're just being closed-minded. I reject that is a fair characterization, because I've been as open as I think any atheist can be. And I mean, if your claim is just that everybody who doesn't believe in God has a closed mind, I don't think that's. I think you would need something a little stronger to back that up.
I wasn't claiming that everybody was closed-minded.
Oh, just me. Just me. Only I'm closed-minded.
I was just saying.
Okay. Well, every atheist who has a desire to know if there was a real God, that they would want to have that relationship. All of those people are too closed-minded, or all of we people are too closed-minded.
No, I generally think I think they are just not enlightened enough about the religion, and especially the Bible.
So again, if I wanted to be a dick, someone would be like, okay, so I grew up in this and spent 25 years in it. You picked it up a few years ago and you understand it better than I do? Over the last, 10, 15 years, I've made a very conscious, I've made this a very conscious part of what I think about what I do and all that stuff. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah, all this stuff, and I'm the one who's not enlightened enough. When you can't explain these things, you can't you can't tell me why your religion is better than ours. But I'm closed-minded and not enlightened, and you're open-minded and enlightened. Okay, that's I try to keep it tamped down, but you don't want to get on my bad side. You don't want to get on my bad side. So I was like, you know what's funny? I read the whole Bible and believed every word, but it made the world around me seem so untrustworthy and weird. Yep. I mean, I didn't. By the time I'd gotten through the Old Testament, I was pretty much not really a believer anymore. But yeah, yeah. Frustration is indeed aggravating. So I just sat in the corner and thought, they don't know that there's a giant 7-headed monster in the ocean. Yeah. I mean, what can you say? What can you say? They believe it. They believe
religion.
Again, just hear it.
No,
and so before this is after. So where are we? So this is while I'm now saying what I mean about how this comes out when you say that, and using King Nirvana's post here to say that. And then this is the response. And again, I'm not saying I'm not no, I did. I was just saying, but I was done believing by the time I got to the by the time I got there. Yeah, this is the constant thing that you hear as an atheist, as somebody who is a good person, as somebody who is voting the way that people want you to vote, and just not having that one belief. And it's over and 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 over again. You tell me how many times you could hear this with the perspective I just gave you and not get frustrated. If your claim is just that everybody who doesn't believe in God has a closed mind, I don't think that's. I think you would need something a little stronger to back that up. This is even worse. This is even worse. It's like, all right, well, if that's the case, then there ain't nothing I can do about it.
Claiming that everybody was closed-minded. I was just saying.
Okay, well, every atheist who has a desire to know if there was a real God, that they would want to have that relationship. And I'm surprised that I didn't say just me there, because again, we're saying he's claiming that I am not enlightened or open-minded enough, and I broadened that to all atheists. He's like, well, wait, it's not all atheists; it's just you.
I wasn't claiming that everybody was closed-minded. I was just saying.
Okay, well, every atheist who has a desire to know if there was a real God, that they would want to have that relationship. All of those people are too closed-minded, or all of we people are too closed-minded. We people.
No, I generally think I think they are just not enlightened enough about the religion, and especially the Bible.
And again, how do you know what I know? Let's take the other atheists out of it. Maybe it is true that there's a lot of atheists who could find value in Christianity if they understood what Christianity was better than they do. Very possible. But how do you know what I know about religion, the Bible, Jesus? How do you know I'm not enlightened enough? How could you? Again, it's just it's an argument from personal incredulity. That, well, you don't get it, and I don't know why. Therefore, you must be closed-minded or not enlightened.
About the religion, and especially the Bible. I think most people don't understand the wisdom of the Bible, and because
And again, my whole platform is that yes, there's a lot of wisdom of the Bible. So again, I ask, how many times could you hear this said about yourself before you got mad?
everyone interprets the Bible differently,
which is why it's a dumb book.
and they need. I think people just need to do a little bit more research on Christianity, and when they're doing research,
Oh, so again, then research. So that means that nobody who has taken theology in college, like Matt Dillahunty went to almost I believe a PhD or at least a master's in theology, and he just doesn't understand as well as you.
What?
Like, that don't make sense, bro.
more research.
So what am I saying with Guam Tech here? So Guam Tech had said, I'd call complete loss of brain function and bodily function death. If not, then what the hell is witnessing what was happening at the time? That was when we were talking about near-death experiences. And near-death experience, near, means not it. Because if it was death, then we wouldn't say the word near. We would just say it was death. But Mexi9 said, I don't think you're closed-minded. I do think, based on what you've said about your past, that you have an expectation of how something should occur. I, of course, could be wrong. I mean, yeah, I definitely believe that a loving God should make himself available to the people that he created and wants to have a relationship with. I don't think that's too much to demand. I don't think that's too much to ask. And I would argue that I'd say all of you who believe have an expectation of how things should occur. But for you, they do occur that way. So you just go with it. So we have the should and the is. For you guys, they're aligned. They're the same thing. Do you not have a perspective on how Christianity should work, or how belief in God should play out, or what it should feel like, or what it should be? If not, then why are you pushing so hard for it? So I agree. I definitely have an expectation of how things should be. I don't think that has any bearing on anything, because I think we all do. And it's just that your should aligns with your is, and my should does not. Next, I've told you all that I've been a lifelong Republican. I was going to make a David joke, but we'll leave that. Lifelong Republican, but the one thing that has made me feel ostracized by the entire party is being atheist. So I get what Lutch is saying. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not telling anybody that you have to change who you are, the way that you believe, or the things that, like, I'm just expressing this is how we see it. If it is the case that you would like to bring people like myself and Nick into your voting block, then you would want to heed this warning. If not, then hey, do you?
They need. I think people just need to do a little bit more research on Christianity, and when they're doing research, don't research to disprove or prove it, but research to find something that you might believe in. So
the best play for America is to make sure that everybody does a bunch of research on morality and come up with their own conclusion of what Christianity means. Because I think that was Nirvana's point. But yeah, that seems like a recipe for disaster, because you have the people who will care enough to do the research and come up with crazy ideas, like the ladies who drown their kids because they thought God told them to. Then most people are just going to be like, nah, which is why I think we see the leftist degeneracy, that people are just not interested in doing that research.
True.
And so if there is, if Christianity works for you, and that's great, what about the people it doesn't work for? Because it's not just oh, it sucks for you. It sucks for all of us when they when they behave in such a way that doesn't really move America where we want it to go. And so again, if Guam, near and after death experiences are a real thing, prove it, and happen way past the point of brain function. DMT needs a brain to experience its effects. If no brain, then no trip. Yeah, but a near-death experience is still just a trip. You're just tripping. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Like, it's not anything. The only reason it's coming near your death is because that's when the DMT is released. I don't know. I do not get why people put any weight on near-death experiences. Like we know how crazy the brain acts in when it's stressed or shocked. But you're gonna take that and be like, no, this is proof of everything. I'm like, okay, bro. Okay. And 169 said, I think, or rather hope, that the particular faction of the Republican Party, that particular faction of the Republican Party is dwindling. I'd rather have atheists like you and Nick than a hypocrite. Well, thank you. And Dilly, well, wait, we got a little bit. For you. Thank you. You didn't really miss anything. Yeah, you didn't really miss anything. All right, let's dive back in. Move America where we want it to go. And so again, if Christianity is what's best for America, then this is why I started with the resurrection. It has to be true. Is it possible? It's almost like I had a reason to start there. For Christianity to be the best thing for America if it's not true.
I still think Christianity is good, even if it's not true, because it teaches people.
Does that count as a hungry dance? A hungry dance.
Good morals, really. And I think,
because we sorry to interrupt, but we already kind of treaded over this. That yes, Christianity has some great stuff in it, but you're making the claim that is the best.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, if it's not true, then how can it be the best? It can be good, but you're saying the best. You're saying there's no possible way that you could think about the world differently than following the Bible to the T, which, we can get into the fact that you don't do that, but we'll just stick with the general, it might, there's truth claims in the Bible, in Christianity, that are not true. How then can non-truths be the best thing for a foundation for a country?
Well, I believe that when someone
that was him again.
Is an atheist versus a Christian, an atheist doesn't really.
Oh, so now again here, before I hear anything, now I hear generalizations being made. So you're gonna talk about all atheists. Not a smart move.
An atheist doesn't really value.
How do you know that? Whatever it is that you say, unless you're saying a belief in a god or gods, then you don't know that. Because just like brushing your teeth or wearing shoes, that tells you as much about what somebody believes as atheism does.
Doesn't really value. What's the word? Such a simple word that slipped out of my mind. Consequences. Like the consequences. Atheists don't value consequences like a Christian would.
Atheists don't value consequences like an atheist would. So we would expect that our jails would be full of atheists and there would be no Christians. How do you know that? How many atheists do you know? That's like people who wear shoes don't value this, that, or the other.
Most of my friends are atheists.
Okay, so maybe your friends are just shitty people.
Nah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where you're making a characterization about all atheists based on a handful of people that you know. I can make generalizations about Christianity itself because the tenets are listed. I don't have to know the people to actually know what is being told to be done. Yeah, so that's a big difference. That is, well, if you could say this about us, then how come? Because you list what your shit is about. I don't need to know you. You told me what you're about. What is the list of the tenets of what you think if you're an atheist, besides saying no when somebody asks you, do you have a belief in a god or gods? That's it. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee again. Over with the Rumble Rant. Thank you. You want this? He don't want it, but I will keep it here for him. Thank you so much, sir. Out sponsoring yourself. What do you say? Think about history and myth. Drugs were used to get closer to the gods. Or maybe it was the fact that drugs were used because they make you feel funny and there's no such thing as God. So we said atheists have to live in the now, thus are more aware of their actions. Nah. Nope. Because again, it is true that many atheists don't give a shit about the morality of their behavior, and so they only live in the now in the bad way, in the sense that I don't care what happens, I don't care what about the consequences. Exactly what Taylor was saying, but you simply can't make that generalization about atheists in general. Whereas you can say Christians, do care about ritual or something like that. You can absolutely say that. M169. So from the beginning of our self-awareness, we've struggled with big questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Do we have a purpose? Yeah. And like Richard Dawkins says, we are medium-sized beings made to deal with medium-sized problems. We have a lot of issues with the very big and the very small. Our evolution has not caught up to our technology. You are good, brother. You are good. All right, let's dive back in here. Christianity itself, because the tenets are listed. I don't have to know the people to actually know what is being told to be done. That doesn't carry for atheism. So how can you know to make that criticism? Again, how do you know that your friends aren't just shitty people and also atheists and also wear shoes? So I'm thinking, with all the this dead air, not good for any type of streaming or broadcasting. Obviously, I want to give him time to think, but I'm kind of on the fence of, he's obviously been very gracious and very nice. This has been a very nice and cordial conversation, but it's kind of like I already won the debate. I just need him to say that he can't say that it's best. And so now I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I get there without seeming like a dick? Oh, again. System's too lenient for to fools harming others. So those who live in the now just do their jail time and move on to do more bad. Yup. So it's gonna go. So what was Gomtek say before? So Gomtek said, what if there is no best religion or philosophy? Maybe this whole thing is just a constant experiment with the goal of adding to what we know is good for eternity. The only unchanging thing is that things will always change. Therefore, I wanted to give you a ding, but it went off. The only unchanging thing is that things will always change. Therefore, our morals and lessons will have to change along with that change. So why is this not? Because again, you're saying no, it's not that. It's Christianity. Sizemore said, do you think Christianity evolved from atheism or the other way around? The other way around, for sure. It's instinctual that we plug in, the God of the gaps and the personal incredulity arguments. We plug in the answer where we don't know. We do this conscious. We do this with things that we are conscious of. But we also do this with things that we're unconscious of, like we all have a blind spot in each eye, but you don't see a blind spot. Your brain fills in what's in there. Like I'm sure you've done the thing where you cover one eye and there's a dot on there's 2 dots on the paper. You cover your eye and you just get closer and closer and closer, and at one point the other dot just disappears because you have a blind spot in your eye. And your brain just fills in the rest. You know what else your brain does is flip your entire field of vision. Because the way that light is reflected, it hits the back of our eye as an upside down image. And your brain automatically fills in that, oh, it's supposed to be this way. So if you wear glasses that would invert what you see, very quickly you would get used to that. And then when you take off the glasses and you're looking at things, straight up, you would be very, very confused. So I think it's absolutely that religion came first. And, that was our attempt to answer how the universe got here, how it worked, all that stuff. And it's only science has brought us to a place where we could reasonably say that all of this could happen without a God. Nick said, sadly, some do. I'm encouraged to see more and more people who have similar beliefs to Lutch and myself. There are more conservative atheists than most people would realize. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. MC9 said, I tried that eye covering trick and nothing happened like they said it would. Well, you must have done it wrong. Maybe you weren't open-minded enough. Maybe you're not enlightened enough. Maybe you didn't get the instructions right. See how annoying that is? See how annoying that is? Because it works for everybody else. So the question is, do your eyes not work? Is there something? Maybe you don't have a blind spot. It's very possible that you have some different organization of your the molecules in your eye. But to just say you did it wrong without knowing anything about how the context of yeah, right? Without knowing, to just say that you did it wrong kind of feels shitty, right? So we said in paying for crime and doing more crime, religious are the same in that their religion allows them to do crime because of reasons. It's not much better. Yeah, you don't forget about forgiveness. Quality and Deference over on Rumble said, when an atheist does anything wrong ever, that represents all atheists. When Christians do anything wrong, they weren't real Christians. No true Scotsman argument. Again, arguments made so often that they have names. Sizemore disagrees, said, I think at some point our species had to be so primitive that it had no metaphysical ideas or divine thought. I think the term atheism evolved from religion, but I think the belief in the divine has to evolve from creatures that were godless in thought. Okay, technically, yes. The ability to conceive of a god had to come after the non-ability. But in this context, I'm assuming that you're talking about we have that capability and we're not buying into that truth claim. So that's kind of yeah. I don't think that's the same thing because I don't think we would consider fish and to be atheists, even though they don't have a God belief. Technically, all fish are atheists, but that's not really what we mean, right? So I think when it comes to the ability to conceive of a God, at that point, then God was plugged in. Before that, it was atheism in the same way that fish are atheists. They just don't have that belief because they're not capable of that belief. Why is this not? Because again, you're saying, no, it's not that. It's Christianity. What are you using to say that Guamtech is wrong here? Because I agree with Guamtech. I said, shit, me too. Oh, wait.
Well,
I did it again. I thought that was him. Shout out to our boy, Kelly Green. Welcome to the party. Said Fisher retrobates. I was trying to think of a joke that had to do with masturbate. I don't know. It didn't come through. I apologize. I owe you more. Welcome to the party, brother. So I think that's why God will always be the claim that has the burden of proof, not the disbelief in one. Yep. What? I did not hear about that. Let's take a look at what that is real quick. I just want to see like how long Candace I mean, yeah. I plan on it, but Andrew Tate. Probably, yeah. So we'll probably do this. So tomorrow's going to be Philosophy Friday. So this will most likely be Wednesday. Good call. So yeah, save it, baby. Save it for me. Just for me. All right, I'm back.
Well, here, hold on.
It's tough, right? And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to do any gotchas or anything like that. But it raises these important questions. When we say this is the way that it has to be done, you have to have a reason for that. And you seem to be like many others, like you found the first moral structure. You were living without a moral structure. You are a good person, so you didn't need a moral structure to not be a bad person. But then when you wanted to be more than just not a bad person, then the first ideology that you discovered, you're like, okay, well, this is better than nothing. And now, without exploring any other ideologies, you're claiming it's the best. or maybe not without exploring. Let me not put words in your mouth and say you haven't explored any others, but certainly you haven't explored every other, and you certainly don't think that it can't be a collection. And I there might be a particular ideology that is the best, but I think it's a lot more likely that what Quamtech said, that is just a collection of human knowledge. So I'm going to let him finish that answer, and then we'll skip forward to where Quamtech joins the conversation, because they pretty much are circling the drain on that one.
Well, I've looked at a lot of religion, right? Like Buddhism. In fact, I really enjoy Buddhism. I like Buddhism a lot.
Me too. That's it. Shit, me too.
I don't see anything wrong with Buddhism.
Funny guy.
And however, I see Buddhism less as a religion and more as like just a dogma, just a ideology.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, is that the reason I like Buddhism is because it doesn't necessarily need to hinge upon a central dogma. So what is the dogma that you're referring to? I'm right here. I got to take a piss.
Well, like what Buddhism can do for you, right? What it can do for others,
right?
Through you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to Christianity in certain ways.
Yeah, it's almost like
in that way.
Yeah, it's almost like throughout human history, we just used our own reasoning and rationality to determine what is right and wrong, and that's why all the religions generally are more or less the same. No?
Right, but I think generally,
right,
most religions are based on Christianity. Like, well, not necessarily Christianity, but Christ himself. Like his story. I mean, his story.
Okay, so shout out to Quality and Deference. Thank you for joining us. You have a good one. All right, let's jump ahead here. So Contact came in. He had some sound issues. Yeah, I think Christianity is the best one. Oh yeah, the music. I should have done that from the beginning. That doesn't mean it's the best that could be. So shout out our boy Quamtech. Welcome.
Yo.
Okay, I think this is easier to see, right? With me here to the party. It had some very, very interesting questions. So where are you at on all this?
I'm going to play the part that I always play, which is being right there in the middle of feeling like everything has its value, and basically kind of posing the question, what does it really matter? I mean, one way or the other. I feel like,
well, so my first thought when you say, what does it matter, is like, well, people are making laws about this shit. So yeah, it matters.
So much of the conversation is based on proving something or having to have the answers for one thing or the other. And my question is, what if it's just true enough?
Then, I mean, okay. So again, then true enough. And at this point, I don't even remember what I said. It's not like, I remember exactly, or otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But yeah, right. I got to remember to use, and hey, if we are doing something where I'm not reacting to a video, remind me, put that music on. It's right here whenever we need it. That's it. That's all we got to do. I would be able to accept that, but I would have to know that is the case. And so until we okay, if you want to structure it as this is the best we have, but we're still continuously going to be looking, then I could that's a much more reasonable position. But to say that we can't know, how do you know that we can't know? How do you know that we can't know? Shout out to Dixon, last name Cider. I like that one. Welcome to the party. So just got to Rochester for DabbleCon. Go! Thank you so much for the $5 shout out to the Dabbleverse. Very, very, very glad to have you. And I think that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much. Very, very much appreciated. How do you know that we can't get better? Where is this coming from? It's just a dogmatic belief that Christianity is the tits, and there ain't nothing that anybody can do about it. And I'm not saying that anybody is wrong. I'm just asking for the justification for that claim. And in my 34 years, I haven't gotten one.
Yeah. And I guess I would even ask Taylor a little bit too. Just, would you say that you think that there are some things that we're starting to experience now as a civilization and society that Christianity doesn't have the answers for specifically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like,
yeah.
Moral atheists.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that that's because there was a limit to how much they would be able to know back when Christianity was first started?
Yeah, of course. Like,
Right.
like, like the Bible was written in all different types of times, in different cultures, and
Except when, sorry, I was gonna make a stupid joke. Sorry.
yeah, you'd have to apply. Like, if you applied it exactly to now, it it would be a little harder to believe. You kind of have to apply it more to modern thinking.
Mm-hmm. And really the only reason I ask that is because, like, I guess I'm kind of getting to a point of, do you think that Christianity should evolve with the times to be able to keep its relevance?
Good question. So, like, I would be surprised if anybody were to say no, it shouldn't update, unless you're going to be a hardcore fundamentalist and be like, no, the Bible says what it says, and we need to follow the Bible. But of course, we know that most people, thankfully, don't follow the Bible word for word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see what was happening with Carl there. Carl was saying the Indian Jesus is standing on a beautiful ship that works great in the middle of the ocean, and he says this could be made better as he starts sawing the ship apart.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, if you think Christianity and America is a beautiful ship that's working great, agree to disagree. We have issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you don't know that Christianity is what's best for America.
I mean, we don't know for a fact, but it's just what I
won!
right?
Game over! I won! Yeah! Okay, sorry. Right. And again, and so if, I'm not asking if you have certainty, but if you have enough of a reason to say, okay, I think let's even take it away from philosophy and religion. Let's say you're we got Guam Tech here. Let's talk some jujitsu. So let's say that the best way to do a rear naked choke is to make sure that you've got the the veins on both sides of the neck in between, and that's the best way to do it. But if you don't know that there could be a better way, then you don't have the justification to say that this is the best way. So M169, I was just curious, when you say most people don't follow the Bible, what do you mean? I mean that there's things like that eating shellfish is wrong, wearing two types of cloth at the same time is wrong, that adultery should be punishable by stoning, slavery, stuff like that. So according to the Bible, it's okay to beat your slaves as long as they don't die within a day or two. None of you think that's okay. I mean, I hope. Do not suffer a witch to live. Is that in the Bible? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't remember that one, but it would fall in line for sure. For sure. But yeah, just little things that we, when I was a Christian, we as a society have decided that we don't need to pay attention to that. And that's an important point, because you're claiming that this is a divinely inspired book and message, but then you're using your human intuition, your human rationale to pick and choose which parts, and then using that structure, the moral structure of the Bible plus my thoughts, to say that's Christianity and that's the best that we have. What? That don't make no sense. Either the Bible is divinely inspired and therefore it's the inerrant word of God, or it's just a book. Know that there could be a better way, then you don't have the justification to say that this is the best way. And I think the analogy applies. Correct me if I'm wrong on tech, but I think jiu-jitsu is still evolving in the sense that what might have been Hoist Gracie being amazing, like if you put that the best guy in jiu-jitsu from 30 years ago with the at the same age, and you try. Jesus talked about slavery, or I don't know if Jesus talked about slavery, but slavery is in the New Testament. And time travel, and the best guy in jiu-jitsu today, it's probably fair to say, Gontek, that the best guy today would beat the best guy 30 years ago, right? And I mean, are we really trying? I hear you, but are you really trying to say that I can't find anything in the New Testament that people generally don't follow? Come on. let's not even go down the road of the fact that the Gospels don't match. It's probably fair to say, Quantic, that the best guy today would beat the best guy 30 years ago, right?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because I do think that this kind of applies to the conversation. So
that's why I brought it up, Quantic. I'm not just randomly talking about jujitsu.
Actually, it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because I do think that this kind of applies to the conversation. So the problem with the people who are newer in jiu-jitsu is that they have forgotten what worked. So they're kind of going off of their own thing, and maybe they've learned 30 different new ways to choke a person out. But do they know how to stop a real choke coming in that has been unstoppable and was proven to be unstoppable from the beginning?
And again, if I was debating Guamtech on this, I would say, what do you mean a real choke? Like, if you're getting choked, how is that not a real choke? I think I understand what he meant in the sense of, something that falls in line with the fundamentals of what jiu-jitsu originally was. But I'm making an assumption.
Stop a real choke coming in.
Yeah, what's a real choke?
That has been unstoppable and was proven to be unstoppable from the beginning. So there, and that's not to say. So
let me interrupt you really quick. Let me interrupt you real quick and tie the two analogies together, because that works perfectly. So this idea of not understanding the basics and having all these new flashy ways to do things in the political and philosophical sense, that would be like these maybe not new age, but like the leftist postmodernist Marxist stuff that, like, yeah, you can explain away racism and this and that and that and that, but you don't know how to define what a woman is. And so I think this is a great example. So you have the newbies who got all the new stuff, but they forgot about the basics or the fundamentals, let's say. And then sorry, I cut you off. You were saying?
No, yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. And it's obviously hard to say because age and physicality is a factor in this. But let's say
I'm pretty sure. I don't. I mean, like, it may not have been. It may have been like one of the Gospels saying that Jesus said that. I don't know if it's red letter that Jesus said it, but yes, there's definitely slavery in the New Testament. Yeah, no, I get you. But and like, so again, I do have to again bring up that as the 20 let's say 19 years that I was a Christian, never once did it come up in any of the churches that I went to, mostly Catholic and then mostly Methodist, that we just ignore the Old Testament. Like, there was definitely the idea that, well, no, we as Christians, we follow the New Testament a lot more closely. But the idea that, like, oh, it's in the Old Testament, so we don't even need it. Well, why are you printing that many fucking pages then? Just give me the New Testament. It was never like, this part doesn't count. And I mean, if that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying. I'm not here to dictate anybody's faith. But, like, that's just that idea. When I first heard it, I think it was Kelly Green, actually, who was like, oh, yeah, well, that's an Old Testament. And I was like, and it's the fucking Bible. And I mean, again, it begs the question, or raises the question, how do we know? Because the New Testament said that Jesus is going to come back, right? So what reason do we have to say that Jesus is going to come back and then say, oh, yeah, you don't need to follow the New Testament now. We have a New Testament. These are all very basic questions that even the top people who do this for a living can't answer. Shout out to VHS 201. Welcome to the party. Yeah, I mean, again, if we were specifically on that, I'd take the time to go and look it up specifically. But you guys all have ChatGPT, so do your own homework. It's not my job to educate you. Yep. Plenty.
It's obviously hard to say because age and physicality is a factor in this. But let's say you take what was learned back then, you put it in a 20-year-old's body. You take what's learned now and you put it in a 20-year-old's body. You put them head to head and see where that goes.
So we have a 20-year-old body, or two identical 20-year-old bodies, but the mind is whether we're talking about Christianity or jiu-jitsu. The guy who one of them is from the past and one of them is from the present. again, talking about the notion that people forgot the fundamentals and are kind of using the practice in a way that it wasn't meant to be used, which is, again, I think a lot of Christians Bible thumping. I don't think that's what Jesus wanted.
What's learned?
Actually, I know that's not what they say Jesus wanted.
Now, when you put it in a 20-year-old's body, you put them head to head and see where that goes. I think that it would be very interesting. It would be a very interesting.
It's almost not that impressive that like all of the prophecies in the Old Testament came true in the New Testament because they read the Old Testament. In fact, yeah, that would be if I was in charge of this, I'd be like, yeah, we definitely need to get rid of the Old Testament because it shows why we knew all the stuff that was going to happen. It's an interesting point. Interesting.
I think that it would be very interesting. It would be a very interesting match, but what would be even more interesting is what would come after the match and what would be more understood of what really needs to apply.
Yes. So would you agree that in again, tying the analogies together? So in jiu-jitsu, like, yeah, it's cool if you got some new flashy stuff. It's cool if you've got the fundamentals. Nobody's necessarily saying one is directly better than the other. But once you meet, so that maybe I should start asking people why Joseph Smith is not, why don't they accept Joseph Smith as a prophet? Like Christians here, to you, M169. I don't know if Kelly's still here. Anybody who's a Christian, why do you not accept Joseph Smith as the second coming of Christ? So nobody's necessarily saying one is directly better than the other, but once you meet, now putting that information together, and what comes out of that is, or rather, we can expect something new to come out of that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. So, and I think you agree with me, bringing it back to the philosophical, that I think the same thing applies to, mentally rolling and getting into conversations like this, that we want to move things forward. Rolling is the term for, playing jujitsu. When you're engaged in jujitsu, it's rolling. So mentally rolling means doing the philosophical work. Mentally rolling and getting into conversations like this, that we want to move things forward. And it's not that you should forget the fundamentals, but it's also that you shouldn't brush off new ideas just because they're new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of why I was bringing up what I was asking earlier, and this also, this is more towards Taylor, is, you mentioned that you had kind of a little bit of a background in multiple different religions and whatnot. Would you say that being as versed as you were in multiple different religions is what kind of started to lead you to Christianity as being the religion?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really.
Wait, what did he say? Sorry, I zoned out for a second.
Would you say that being as versed as you were in multiple different religions is what kind of started to lead you to Christianity as being the religion?
I feel like that was a leading question. And I'm sorry, Taylor. I don't believe that that's the case. Because based on what? Based on what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really did. Like, I explored a lot because I was born Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, when I was 13, I was so confused, and I felt like how the world was, and how Christians treated each other, I had to keep viewing. I had to keep searching.
Okay, and so then I would, if I was on top of it, because again, I kind of not checked out, but now I'm in a much more casual place at this point in the conversation. But I should have harped on that. Like, okay, so what is it that you saw in these other religions that made you think Christianity was better? Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. And again, Guamtech fed it to him. So isn't it that you looked at other religions and then after looking at other religions that Christianity was the best? He's like, yeah. Leading question. It doesn't mean it's not true. I'm just not buying it. Emil69 said it's a valid question. I think because many of the things that Joseph Smith preached or taught contradicts Christianity. You mean like a lot of things in the New Testament contradict what's in the Old Testament? So even saying that I realize my own hypocrisy. There you go. There you go. So yeah, I mean that's a that's gonna be on the tool belt.
I had to keep viewing. I had to keep searching. But I later realized
Why? I should have asked why. Why did you have to keep searching? What was so incomplete about Buddhism?
that it's the people that's causing all these things, and that those other Christians aren't. That's not God or the Bible doing that. That is the people doing that. Like, for example, all the hate that Christians will, some Christians will do on, like, gay people, for example.
Right.
Like, sure, it's a sin, but so is lying. Like, I don't think gay people are going to go to hell.
So
Just
is
like
shellfish. So
just
is
like
different types of cloth.
or lying, right? like I could say every liar is going to go to hell, just like they say every gay person.
Well, that's what the Bible says, right? So I was actually going to kind of go down this road before, and we touched on it a little bit, but the idea of bringing your human human rationality to the Bible. So, and VHS, I agree with you in large part, but even again, going to your second sentence and then making the claim about what the true answer to God is, how do you know that? Why is it that there has to be a God in the equation? If we don't understand that aspect of it, why do we feel the need to keep forcing that in? If it's within yourself, then either God is a part of you or you are God, and that it's not a relevant part of the equation. I just don't understand why it's such an anchor point for every way of thinking. It always has to come back to a God. There's no way to think in any other way except it must be from a God. It might be God this way, it might be God that way, but it always comes back to God. So sort of the true God is within us. Does that mean we are our own gods? Because that's what the Satanic Temple preaches. Swam saying. Bringing your human human rationality to the Bible. So I because of the fact that you are a nice person and that you're not in jail, I was wondering, I was like, there's no way Glontek was here and left before he knew that he would be up here. Place a pretty strong bet that you don't follow every word in the Bible, right? Well, let's just start there.
Yeah, probably not like every word. Like, maybe not everything in the Old Testament.
Good.
But
don't do that.
Yeah.
So, okay. But then, so if that is your position, and there's certain things that it's in the Bible, so obviously we follow, but this is like, hey, whoa. Obviously, we're not stoning bitches for adultery.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be cheating, but like, we ain't doing that. That's a little too far. How do you, Taylor, in your own mind, when you read the Bible and it says stone adulterers to death, and then it says, be nice to your neighbor, how do you determine which passages you do follow versus which passages you don't follow? This is another one I have never gotten a good answer. How do you know which verses you do follow, which versus those that you don't?
Well, for example, Jesus came to say that the Old Testament.
I was gonna do it again now, and I was like, no, dude, I forgot that I did that. Oh my god.
Well, for example, Jesus came to say that the Old Testament does not these don't matter anymore because I'm here to share the gospel, share the love and compassion and wash away all of the original sin of us all, non-Jews, Gentiles, or whatever. So the Old Testament, we're not supposed to really follow everything in the Old Testament anymore, like stoning people, for example, or
Okay, he got there.
like generally violent things like that, especially when it comes to original sin.
Right, like obviously, Jesus was saying when Jesus came back in the New Testament, there was, there was saying we don't need to follow the old covenant, But exactly as Sizemore was saying, the New Testament condemns homosexuality. The New Testament has things on slavery. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the shellfish thing is in the New Testament. So again, so at 169, you're for sure there's nothing about the shellfish thing in the New Testament. That's only Old Testament. I'll refer to your judgment. I'm definitely. It's been a long time since I actually sat down and read the Bible. But she says, in addition to my above stated philosophy, I've never seen myself as a god. There's too much I don't. You okay, Baba? Hold on. He's like wheezing. You okay? You okay, Mama? You're good. You're good. You're good. Why don't you come here and lay with me? Come here. Why don't you come here? Here, lay with me. You'll be okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. That's always that's always a good thing. If somebody's having a bad trip, you never ask them if they're okay. You always tell them that they are okay. You're okay. You're okay, my Baba boy. Just lay down. No, you don't want to be here? Okay. Hold on. I got you. Ay, this freaking dog. Okay, so where were we? So I've never seen myself as a god. There's too much I don't know. That would be my distinction between myself and a Satanist philosophy. So the Satanist philosophy doesn't say it as every person is equal to God. It's more of a metaphor. You are the ruler of your own free will. The choices and consequences belong to you. That's what they say. Oh my God, he is not in good shape. You want to sit up there? No? Okay. You're okay. You're all right. Jesus Christ. Sizemore said, God doesn't own the hell you go to. You do. I like that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the shellfish thing is in the New Testament. So again, the question is that you see these things in the Bible, and whether it's one page book, one chapter, whatever else, Taylor has the ability to say this part of the Bible is wrong, and this part of the Bible is right. How did you learn how to do that, or who told you how to do that, or where does that come from?
Well, I generally. I listen to myself sometimes, but I mostly listen to my pastor at my church. And I will also talk to him personally alone about things. Something to focus on. You got to understand the mind of tripping balls. Give him something to focus on, and he's good. All right, let's finish this up. And I will also talk to him personally alone about things when I'm confused with things, and he helps me understand a lot, not just about God and the Bible, but about myself too. So like that kind of sounds like a similar role to like a good therapist, right? Yeah. And do you need a belief in a God or gods or any dogmatic belief to get therapy? No, but but it helped. The conversations with your pastor helped you. Yes. So it would be better than for America if more people were able to get that help, even if they didn't believe in a God, because it's not necessary for that part of it, right? Right. So again, I'm failing to see how Christianity is what's best for America if at every turn it seems to be kicking people like me out instead of bringing people like me in. I think it's just a chance that I'm smarter than every other atheist. Half being facetious, but I really genuinely think that I am a better person than so many of these atheists because they're shitty people. I think we all agree that generously to see they're shitty people. Yep. And it is a strong correlation. Absolutely, it's a strong correlation. But if we know that correlation is not causation, and we know
that acting on incorrect information, as we said before with the bus and walking in the street, incorrect beliefs lead to actions that are not ideal for us. So that comes back to, it has to be true if it is what's best. And if we can't prove that it's true, then why are we saying only this is the best? Why are we not saying, hey, all of these 50 million things that we see in the Bible, these values are good values. Whether you believe in the God part, whether you believe in the walking on water part, like we can, that's not a big deal, because we got half of the country, believing that there's no values and there's no truth but power, and you can become a woman if you're born with a penis and all this. I think what's best for America is what brings Americans together. And I think Christianity fails at that drastically.
I actually have a question now for you, Lutch.
Sure.
Do you think it would be better for America if Christians learned more from atheists, or if atheists learned more from Christians?
You're right, Bob. You're right. Do atheists learn more from Christians? I mean, I'd probably say atheists learn more from Christians, because even if we talk about like the types of philosophy that I would use to build my moral structure, a lot of them were Christian, and a lot of what they thought was based on Christian values. Whereas, again, I don't think that there is much of it. There's not at all. There's no atheist tenets. There's no, like, if you're an atheist, you believe these things. If you're an atheist, you think these things are good or these things are bad. That list does not exist. And so there's not much to being an atheist except not believing a thing. So I don't know what you could really learn from it if you're phrasing it that way. So yeah, certainly there's been atheists. Christian. Santeria is, that's a whole different world. Yeah, and there's again, a lot of people that believe in that stuff, and they see that as a real answer. What, you coming up here now? Coming up? Come on. And there's just so many ways to view this world that to say we have the right one. That's such a strong claim. But I think based on the way of the phrasing of the question, I don't think there's much from the Christian to learn from the atheist. I think the Christian needs to learn from the secular philosopher, which is not the same thing. Thank you for hanging out, M169. I don't even want to use the horns. He is freaking out. But thank you so much. You have a good one.
Okay, well, I guess that's kind of where I was going more with it, is learning from the secular philosopher. And the reason I asked that is because, and this can kind of go towards Taylor as well, do you think, Taylor, that Christians would benefit more from being able to...
He's crying. Good. Well, don't fucking go into my fucking drawer then.
Accept a secular philosopher's point of view and be able to bring them into the fold without having to necessarily say, you have to believe in our God in order to be a part of this movement?
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Do you think that Christians would benefit more if they were able to bring secular philosophers into their movement, while still being able to leave them the freedom of saying, you don't have to believe in our God to be a part of this movement?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that gets us to the agreement then, right? That Christianity, in fact, is not what's best for America, but a secular moral structure that very closely mimics Christianity would be best for America.
Probably for politically, yeah.
There we go.
And based on
there we go. Well, Dilly, to that.
Yeah.
There we go. So again, and then the rest of it just kind of closing thoughts and closing down. And so I'm very happy with my my performance there. Hi, are you not feeling so good? You want to come up here? You just want to annoy me? Okay, that's fine. You can annoy me. Want to come up? Yeah, you're not feeling so good, huh? That's why I keep that stuff in the drawer where you're not supposed to go. You're right, Bubs. He said, I just want to go to the moon on the other side of the universe. You're okay. There we go. Yeah, I think it's about time to go upstairs where he can take a nap. But yeah, I mean, just the idea that I'm constantly learning. And so as much as Taylor, it was his first debate, I think he did a good job in terms of Bubs, you're okay. It's okay. Relax. Relax. I gotta go, guys. I gotta go. I don't know. Thank you very, very much. I'm not, again, he ate some shrimp chocolate before, so I don't know if he'll eat it, but let's see. Let's see. You want that? Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah. This one's from before. There you go. Okay. Thank you so much, El Diablo. Very, very, very much appreciated. And yeah, I think that, you know, as we continue to do this stuff, wow, that really calmed him down. That really calmed him down. Shout out to El Diablo. Dilly to that, my friend. Help my dog with his bad trip. And yeah, so as we continue to do these, I will get better at, you know, saying the thing that I want to say in the moment without getting too emotional. I think here with this debate, I was a little too oh, you're good now? You're good now? Okay. I was a little too what's the word? Not soft, but I mean, like, I especially because I was already in a bad mood. Because again, we that was an hour after we were supposed to start. We were supposed to have time to, before the show started, for the two of us to talk and be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. You know, I pulled the comments up. Don't worry about the comments, and so on and so forth. And so I kind of overcompensated, but you know, that's show business, right? Live is live. So thank you so very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. A big shout out to El Diablo, Zippy, DSM Lee, with, I think it was, what, 4 Rumble Rants, right? 1, 2, 3, no, 3 Rumble Rants. Very, very, very much appreciated. And of course, the sponsor of the stream all the way over from Rochester, New York, for DabbleCon, Dixon Cider. Thank you so very, very much, guys. I hope you had a fantastic time. And make sure you are here tomorrow, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I am here. I am live. As you can see right now, it is not one of those times. So make sure you hit the subscribe and ring the bell, because I go live whenever I feel like it. Usually I am down here in the studio, but I will do some of those vertical streams, you know, bringing some new people, just having a chat, whatever. But whatever you got, come on through and let us know what's good. Oh my goodness, El Diablo. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. So here's what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna take this big thing and break it up and then feed it to him in little pieces so that the time that he's getting food is longer. There we go. There we go. All right. How about here you go? Right here. There you go. There you go. Thank you so very much. He clearly needs it. We very much appreciate you. Once again, if you are not already part of the Discord server, it is absolutely free to join, guys. We are in there 24/7, hanging out, having a good time. Make sure you join, come through. And of course, if you are a member of the channel, then you get full access to the entire server, including the after party room. So we do that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As soon as the stream is over, instead of worrying about YouTube censors and any of that stuff, we just head on over to the voice channel and have an after party where you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. There's also, of course, members only streams here on YouTube. And then on some of the levels, there is also discounted merch, free merch, all that kind of stuff. Check it out right at the whatchamacallit, the URL here. Or as stated earlier, you can just go right below the video, hit that join button, see what the different levels get you. We already do have one God Daddy. And but it only starts at $2.99 a month, so check it out. Thank you again. I really do appreciate you guys. And yeah, if you guys want to go and hang out, the room is open for anybody to use whenever, so do yo thing. Shout out to Kitty. Welcome. We are headed out, but I do appreciate you coming by. Guys, if you have not already, please do hit that like button. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, it's Philosophy Friday. We are out of here. Peace.